brought the beer? Okay, I know there's a keg here.
Russell has it.
Russell has it? I thought it was your birthday.
That's why he left. It's in Willie's room.
While everybody's coming in, if you were an MP here and you have not written your name on a sheet of paper that I gave you, or my good friend Gunny back there, before you leave, if you could please sign that sheet of paper, your name, your address, your phone number. Really appreciate it. Before we get started, I really want to thank Drew for videoing this for us. Now I'm going to tell you it's an H&S company. We won't hold that against you.
Clothing sales.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the flag's that way. If you could face it, let's do the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Katie Self. She is the director of the museum. What's your official title, Katie? Director.
Everything to do with the museum.
Katie has worked really hard with Mike and myself and everybody else that's had something to do with this. And I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing us to put a display here. It means the world.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. Like you said, it's been a group effort, and we really appreciate having our veterans return and share their history with us. That's what we're here for, and we hope to continue sharing your history in the future.
Thank you to most of you who don't know me. My name's Mike Proper. I was here in 1980 to 1983. I was stationed here. And Eric and I, we've been up here a number of times, and Eric, when we came up with this idea of getting a museum display together, Eric tasked me with finding out the unit history of the 572nd MP Company. So, with that being said, I did what most people do in the 2020s. I went to Google and I went to the internet, and I could not find a damn thing on the 572nd MP Company. And I thought, no, wait a minute. There has to be something out there. So I live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm about 23 miles from Carlisle. And does everybody know what's in Carlisle? Well, more importantly, the United States Army Heritage Museum is there. Heritage Center. Now, we toured that one time when we had an MP reunion here. The thing about the Army Heritage Center is they have every single person that has ever served in the United States Army, your records are there. They also have records on every single unit that ever existed, except for the 572nd MP Company. So I go down to the Army Heritage Center, and when I first get there, they tell me, do you have an appointment? I said, no, I didn't know you needed an appointment. They said, yes, you need an appointment because we have anywhere from 1 to 2 dozen students from the Army War College in here doing research every day of the week. And they said it gets very, very busy, and they only have one librarian on duty at a time. But they said, but we're currently in a break, so we think that they'll be able to take you in. So I went in. The individual that assisted me, the librarian, was very, very helpful. And of course, he was a veteran, and guess what service? Army, yeah. And he researched and he found a book. This book, which is the only book that they had that had anything in it about the 572nd Military Police Company. So with that being said, I opened that book and I was amazed at some of the information I found out. So very, very quickly, the 572nd MP Company was originally constituted and activated in February 1944 as the 72nd MP Company and assigned to the North African Theater of Operations. The unit was then transferred to Italy for a law and order mission. The unit was then transferred to France and assigned to the 7th Army, where it was assigned convoy, escort, and security for several command headquarters. Eventually, the unit entered Germany and provided frontline and POW processing till the end of the war in Europe. The unit was ordered to return to the U.S. for deployment to the Southwest Pacific, but these orders were stayed, and the 72nd MP Company was to remain in Germany, where it was downsized, and in 1946 it was inactivated. In 1949, the former 72nd MP Company was redesignated as the 572nd Military Police Company and assigned to the European Command, Austria. At the conclusion of the war in Europe, Germany was in shambles, its government entities non-existent, infrastructure destroyed. The U.S. Army formed a constabulary force in Europe to land a law and order mission to Europe and aid in the reconstruction and reorganization of the local governments. Eventually, the constabulary force was inactivated in lieu of individual units. The 572nd MP Company was designated and made up of men and officers of the former Troop C of the 4th Constabulary Squadron. The new 572nd MP Company did law enforcement and security duties in Austria, securing the main line of communication that ran right through Austria. As a result of the Austrian State Treaty in 1955, the 572nd MP Company was scheduled for elimination. 1964, the 572nd MP Company was reactivated at Fort Ritchie, Maryland, and assigned the mission of providing security for this highly classified Army post. The unit was authorized 5 officers and 132 enlisted men. It was made up of members of the already on-site U.S. Army MP and Security Command. For all intents and purposes, this undesignated unit was simply renamed the 572nd Military Police Company. At Fort Ritchie, the 572nd Military Police Company conducted post patrol, staffed the gate since the fort was a closed post, staffed the Provost Marshal's office, and escorted non-post personnel while at the post. One primary security duty assigned to the unit was control of Site R, the nearby Raven Rock Complex, home of the alternate Joint Communications Center, which was to be used by the Pentagon in case of a nuclear attack on Washington, D.C. The AJCC eventually became the ANMCC, Alternate National Military Command Center, and Fort Ritchie became headquarters of 7th Signal Command. Throughout the Cold War, Site R was expanded with updated technology and facilities, and the duties and mission of the 572nd MP Company expanded as well, and as well as its strength. In 1980, the year I got here, the unit consisted of 8 officers, 169 enlisted men and women. The company's mission and station remained constant until the end of the Cold War. In 1992, the Department of Defense began replacing post-MP units with the civilianized Department of Defense police force. In 1994, the Department of Defense began performing security at Fort Ritchie and Site R, with the 572nd scheduled for elimination once again. Yet in 1994, the 572nd MP Company was inactivated at Fort Ritchie. That's the unit history.
So the rest of that history is in the wall in there, and I apologize. This memorial today is not about only the 572nd. It's about the Maryland National Guard. Their history's in there. The history, when it went to Dietrich and went under the medical corps, Medcom. You know what? All they do is change the name on the unit. Yes, you were. Thank you. So I want to thank some people real quick, and I'm sad to say John Krumpovich is not here. Did I pronounce his name right?
Yep.
Perfect. I mentioned Katie, and some history. John is a gentleman, him and his wife own this property through a corporation. For those of us that were here back in the middle of the 2000s when this place was falling down, I remember the last reunion we had and we walked this. I wanted to cry. It was horrible. The buildings were just caving in. This man is busting his butt, along with everybody else, Katie included, in his staff, and they're doing everything they can to revitalize it. It's amazing. So I wish John were here so we could all thank him. I was hoping you could tell us too. Landing Grove, I don't think Landing didn't come up today. He was a director prior to Katie. He's the one that helped us get started. Charles Delser, raise your hand, Charles. You're the most patriotic human being I've ever met in my life. The man lives and breathes the United States of America, and he's been giving us a lot of stuff that you'll see in there today, and he's probably the reason that we've kept moving despite running into a few roadblocks on the way. So I really want to thank you, Charles. Mike Croker, Pat Linehan, who drove down here from, no, I thought it was Canada, wasn't it?
Canada doesn't want me.
Danny Osterman, everybody else, guys, we're all brothers. You know, Danny and I didn't even serve together when we were here. He came in on the back end, and we're almost best friends. He's come down and we've gone to Reds games. We went to a Bengals game, didn't we? Yeah, that's right. So, I want to point out we have 482 people in our Facebook group. We know of another 71 members that are not on Facebook. We've had 5 reunions. This is technically not a reunion. This is probably the 6th gathering. There's one theme that comes up. You could have been here in 1965, and I literally talked to a guy that was here 64 to 65 when the unit transitioned. The stories are the same. The guy that was out at the fort poaching deer. Who wrecked the truck on RT Hill? Who shot themselves? There are at least four of our MPs that shot themselves here, or shot somebody else. Who cracked around into the barrel? Who pulled the cord on the cannon to fire the howitzer and forgot to check it, and the golf balls and toilet paper went flying everywhere down there? So it repeats itself. Everybody here, you gave your life. Thank you for serving our country and doing that. There's one story I want to share. We were here in 2017 and toured the site. And several of you were with us when we toured, and it was a very abbreviated tour. We saw very little, got to go inside. They ushered us into a little training room. Your predecessor was in there, and they ran the unclassified briefing of the site. And it was supposed to be a half-an-hour tour, and it ended up being an hour because we spent a half an hour answering their questions. The collective memory of all of us filled in a lot of gaps. That history's missing, and that's why we worked so hard to create this display here. There's some additional information I'm going to hopefully pass on to this gentleman to take back. Stalls here. There's a couple other members that are in the unit that work out there still. I want to pass on all that along. Our goal in the next year and a half is to raise enough money to put a historical marker somewhere. We'd like it to be on Fort Ritchie. Their time frame doesn't match ours. I'm going to give the man a pass on it. He is I literally was here on Thursday and saw the gentleman, Mr. Krumpovich, pouring concrete in one of the finger buildings. This man's giving his heart and soul. So when the time is right and things work out, we're going to have a historical marker here. So in the next month either Pat Lenahan or myself are going to reach out to you guys, and we're selling coins. We've got pieces of the PMO we're going to sell. We're going to take donations. We're going to ask you to go back to your American Legion if you're a Legion member or VFW member and get them to donate too. So just look for that to come, and if you can find a way to make that happen, we appreciate it. If you have anything, the conversation literally with everybody's been that's donated stuff so far. We all have all this stuff we kept when we were here. You know, Delzer gave up his helmet liner. When we die, our kids are going to either take it to Goodwill or throw it in the trash. Let's be honest. So if you've got something you think would go well here, I'm going to get the information out. Just ship it here. They'll either put it on display or keep it in storage and display it when the time's right. So the last thing I've got for you is the facility has multiple locations that you can go today. The tap room opens at 2. The ice cream parlor down behind the firehouse opens at 2. We went and had brunch over at the Greenhouse Cafe. While you're here, frequent the place. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming out. Have a great day. Let's go inside and enjoy the new museum.
Thank you, MPs.